All right, good people. It's your boy Cornelius Jones. What's going on? We are live today. And I believe everything should be working well technical wise. We will surely see in a moment once some people start getting in here. But today we are going over the new filing in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. We shouldn't say versus anymore because the SEC and Ripple are clearly on the same page now, as they are jointly seeking a prompt resolution from Judge Torres. And so I am going to go over the document here and going to break everything down. You know, we're not lawyers, and sometimes it's hard to understand legal documents. And so thank God we have trusty sources like ChatGPT. And so I put the entire filing into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to break it down for me. And so I've done that. And because of that, I'm going to just share some of the things ChatGPT said. And I believe it'll be really good just to give everybody a good framework and understanding about what's happening with this case and what are reasonable expectations. So if you're in the building, what's happening, what's going on? As I switch my screen here, I just want to confirm that I'm still being heard and everything's good because I'm looking at a different screen. And so you guys, if you just do me a favor, just give me a shout out in the comments to just to verify that you can hear me and that the mic is working good. And then we're going to go ahead and jump into this. I appreciate you guys for being in the place. All right, let me cut back over here to YouTube. Y'all hear me good? Wonderful. I appreciate that. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm also going to touch Fred Rispoli. Fred Rispoli has a very interesting take on this new filing today. I'm going to get into that closer towards the end. But right now, we are just going to break down this filing, and we're going to talk about the difference. How is this filing different from the one that Judge Torres denied, you know, a few weeks ago back in May? And is this new filing going to be sufficient enough for her to go ahead and approve? Those are the things we will wait and see and find out. But let's get into the meat of it. So we got the details of the filing. Now, what you have to understand, what Ripple and SEC, they're on the same page. And what they are asking for, number one, is for the injunction to be dissolved. The current order, the current court order from August 2024, it stops Ripple from certain XRP sales to protect investors. The SEC and Ripple want this order lifted so Ripple can operate more freely. So understand the injunction was on Ripple selling XRP to institutions a certain way that constituted securities contracts. All right. Now, change the money penalty. The original penalty we know was $125 million. It's held in escrow right now. And now they're proposing Ripple pay $50 million and that the remaining $75 million goes back to Ripple. They are restating these details in the new filing. We already understand that. Now, the end of the case, they want this to finalize their settlement, stop all appeals, and close this lawsuit for good. That's what they want. If Judge Torres approves of this, it will end the case. Now, why are they asking? Number one, settlement agreement. The SEC and Ripple have agreed in principle to end the fight. This filing is their way of asking the court to approve the deal. They say it's the public's best interest to wrap this up quickly. That's good to hear, right? The escrow issue. The $125 million is stuck in escrow because of the ongoing appeals. To release it, they need the court's permission. But since the case is on appeal, they need an indictive ruling first, which is a preliminary opinion on whether the court would allow the change if it gets the case back. Exceptional circumstances. Now, this is the key difference here, because this is why they were denied in the first place. They filed under the wrong rule and did not list the exceptional circumstances that necessitated this that necessitated her going back on her ruling, right? And so they had to put that in there. And so the exceptional circumstances is they argue that the situation has changed since the last ruling. Example, new leadership at the SEC, and the fact that they've reached a settlement, which justifies revisiting the old decision. Now, the process, the rules used, they filed under two legal rules this time. They filed under Rule 60B-6, which allows changes to a final judgment if there are exceptional circumstances. They say the settlement itself is the exceptional circumstance. Now, Rule 62.1 lets them ask for indictive ruling while the case is on appeal. So hopefully those two rules will be sufficient enough to get Judge Torres to jump on board with this. All right, I'm going to skip some of these things. We understand the background of the case. We know the lawsuit began back in 2020. Ripple was accused of 1.3 billion unregistered securities selling XRP. In July 2023, Judge Torres ruled that programmable sales to the public were not securities. And we know that the former SEC was asking for 2 billion, right? We remember all of that. And now the amount has gone a lot lower, and we just need the injunction dissolved. Now, why this matters. Now, for Ripple, lifting the injunction lets them sell XRP more easily, which could boost their business and XRP's value. That's what everyone's looking forward to. Now, for the SEC, they get some money and can move on from a case that's been criticized under new leadership. And for investors, it might reduce uncertainty around XRP, though some worry the 50 million penalty is too low. All right, so the page-by-page breakdown. On the first page, it's a 4-page document with signatures on page 5. First page introduces the request, explains a joint motion, and asks for an indictive ruling to modify the August 2024 order. It mentions the 125 million escrow and the proposed 50 million payment. Page 2, it details the legal rules, 60B-6 and 62.1, and argues that exceptional circumstances, the settlement, justify the change. Notes that without this, the settlement collapses. So everything is hinging on, we have a settlement, and now we are using the new rules. Okay. The correct rules. Page 3 explains the background to the 2023 ruling, the 2024 penalty, and the appeals. Says the injunction and escrow are tied to the appeals, so they need court approval to release the funds. And then page 4 lists the lawyers involved from both sides and formally asks the court to consider the motion. Okay, so what it means for people like us who are not lawyers. Simple takeaway, the SEC and Ripple are trying to make a deal to end their fight. They want to split the 125 million penalty, half to the SEC, half back to Ripple. Well, it's not really a split. 50 million is for the SEC, 75 million is back to Ripple. And remove restrictions on Ripple's XRP sales. They need the judge to say it's okay first. Timeline. Judge Torres has about 2 weeks to decide, and this is per Fred Rispoli, to respond. So expect a ruling by late June 2025. Now, uncertainty. Some experts, like Fred Rispoli, which we're going to get into in a second, think the judge may say no because the filing isn't detailed enough based on her past reactions. If she denies it, the case drags on. Impact for XRP. If approved, XRP's price might rise as restrictions lift, but if denied, it could drop due to continued uncertainty. Now, what I want to get into right now is the difference, the breakdown of the difference between this filing and the last one, because we're trying to anticipate, is this good enough? Is this good enough? Is Judge Torres going to accept this? Because if she does, people, if Judge Torres accepts this, the case is over. Within all they got to do after that is go back to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals and confirm that they are dropping this now that they have the ruling from Judge Torres. How long will that take after Judge Torres rules in, that this is approved? Probably not that long. Probably less than 30 days, I'm thinking. I don't know for sure. But this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This case could be over in the next 2 weeks. We will definitely see about that. We got a quick super chat I want to get into before I get into the rest from Henry Brown. I appreciate you, my brother. Brad Garlinghouse says, in another 5 years, Ripple in 14% of Swift. My question is, do we really wait another 5 years? You might already answered. I'm late. I was just getting my 20K steps in. Good. What's up, my brother? We talked about that in my Discord group last night. Listen, you have to understand when they make these predictions, they're always going to go on the most conservative side possible, right? So if Brad Garlinghouse is coming out and saying 14% in 5 years, you best better believe it can be a little more than that in maybe 2 to 3 years. That's how I see it. Okay. 10% is enough to make us all wealthy if XRP gets 10% of Swift. But understand, regardless of the percentage, Swift is one entity. There are so many other entities that are going to be bringing value to the XRP ledger. Okay. So if 14% in 5 years, I think 14% in probably 2 to 3. That's what I think on that. They're always going to be as conservative as possible when it comes. They're going to try their best to under promise and over deliver. That's what they're going to try to do. So getting back into the lawsuit, the key differences between the two filings. Because if there's not enough difference, the thought is she denied the first one, she's going to deny this one too. If there is a big enough difference where some of her concerns are clearly met, then hopefully we have a chance. So here's the key differences between the two filings, and then we're going to get into Fred Rispoli and how he sees this matter. So we have a procedural correction. In the first filing, it was labeled as a joint motion for an indictive ruling, but didn't specify the correct legal rule, which is 60B6, or adequately explain why the court should revisit the August 2024 final judgment. Judge Torres criticized it as procedurally improper, meaning it didn't follow the right process. Now, the second filing, this time, they explicitly cite Rule 60B6, which allows changes to a judgment for exceptional circumstances. And not only that, they cited Rule 62.1 for an indictive ruling during an appeal. On page 2, they argue that the settlement agreement itself is the exceptional circumstance, addressing the judge's earlier concern about proper procedure. So that's good, right? Justification for exceptional circumstances. The first filing, it reportedly lacked a strong reason why the court should change its mind. Judge Torres noted it didn't show why the situation had changed enough to justify altering the final judgment. But in the second filing, they added more detail. On page 2, they argue that the proposed settlement, reducing the penalty and lifting the injunction, reflects a shift in circumstances likely tied to the new SEC leadership, Paul Atkins, a crypto-friendly nominee under Trump, taking over in early 2025, and progress in negotiations. They also say it's in the public interest to end the case quickly, which wasn't emphasized before. Focus on settlement details. The first filing, the proposal to reduce the fine and dissolve the injunction was vague. Reports suggest it mentioned a lower penalty around 25 to 50 million in some accounts, but the filings didn't tie it clearly to a finalized settlement agreement. Now, in the second filing, it's more specific. Page 1 states the exact split: 50 million to the SEC, 75 million back to Ripple, and the injunction's dissolution, all part of a proposed modification to finalize the settlement. This suggests they've worked out more details since May, possibly after the denial prompted further talks. Now, response to judge's feedback. The first filing, it didn't anticipate or address Judge Torres' likely skepticism given her past rulings. Example, she was pissed about weak arguments, as Fred Rispoli noted. She denied it partly because it didn't justify revisiting her decision. But in the second filing, they seem to have taken her criticism to heart. The document on page 2 emphasizes the settlement as a necessary condition to resolve appeals, citing Second Circuit cases like Microsoft versus Baker to support modifying judgments for settlements. This is a direct attempt to align with her legal expectations. So if that's the case, will she buy it? Will she accept it? Well, that's what we are about to find out. Timing and context, the last thing I want to go over real quick. First filing came during a 60-day settlement pause, approved on April 16th, but before the SEC's June 16th, 2025 status report deadline with less urgency or new developments to highlight. Now, the second filing, filed just before June 16th deadline, possibly leveraging new talks or a shift in SEC policy under Atkins. The timing suggests they're pushing to meet the deadline with a stronger case, as noted in an ex post with Edward Farine. So the timing, we just talked about that. I just talked about that in yesterday's video, and now boom, the everything drops. I believe that I had the video out in the afternoon, and later that evening was when the new filing dropped. So it's amazing how quickly these things are happening. So we're going to see if the difference makes any difference, if it matters. The first denial showed Judge Torres wants a solid legal basis. The second filing tries to fix that with better procedure and justification. But some, like Fred Rispoli, which you're going to see, still doubts it's enough, given her discretion and past frustration. Context depth, the new filing is more detailed about the money split and public interest, which may sway her if she sees it as a cleaner resolution. Risk, if she still finds it lacking, examples not detailed enough, as Rispoli suggests, she could deny it again, forcing the case back to appeals. So we have some opinions here from Fred Rispoli that I want to get into. From reading what I read, I see the differences. I understand how they've made an attempt to at least file under the correct rule and show the extreme circumstances on why the ruling should be reversed. I'm going to be honest, I was more on the thinking of Fred Rispoli, because what I have been talking about, what I said in yesterday's video, I said, listen, since we have a new change in the SEC leadership, the exceptional circumstances need to be the SEC needs to explain their new view on XRP. This new administration needs to make a clear difference in stating how they view XRP versus the previous administration. And they need to file that, and they need to put that in writing to Judge Torres. Let's look into what Fred Rispoli said about this document. In the newest saga of SEC versus Ripple, I don't like this filing based on how obvious it was from Judge Torres's last ruling that she was pissed. I recommended a long, detailed motion explaining the SEC's failures in crypto regulation with commissioner declarations and some apologies from Ripple for what it got tagged on. Instead, we got one paragraph on the other SEC dismissals with a paltry mention of the SEC Crypto Task Force. Oof. The parties cite enough law for the court to grant it, but they also did the same in the last one that was denied. But that's not fair, because even if you cite enough law, if you didn't use the right rule, then the whole thing it's not founded on solid ground, right? So now they're using the right rule and they have enough law that they cited. So hopefully that would be enough. In my opinion, the party cited enough law for the court to grant it, but they also did the same in the last one that was denied. This is pure discretion on Judge Torres whether to grant. And I don't think this gets it done, sadly. In my opinion, one of the rare whiffs we've seen in the legal acumen of Ripple's counsel. So I understand his opinion there. I also wish the SEC would have had more of a explanation on, what they got, how the previous administration got it wrong under Gary Gensler. I would have loved to read something like that. It would have made so much more sense, but they didn't put anything like that in there. They just stuck to the settlement. We now have a settlement. Those are the exceptional circumstances. They cited the right rules. They have enough case law. So they even talked about the interest of the public interest for a prompt resolution. So at this point, I'm just cheering. I'm just hoping, please, Judge Torres, please, please. That's where I'm at. Please, just approve it, please. Because if she doesn't approve it, who knows where we're going from here? We're going back to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, right? The SEC's deadline is June 16th. They're going to have to, we don't think Judge Torres is going to respond by June 16th. So we still have to wait to see what she says. But if this goes back, what do they do with an appeal that they filed that they no longer want, but are stuck with? Is that what is that what's happening? That's going to be a spider web of mess, man. I don't know how the case ends in that situation, but we would have to find out if that does happen. Hopefully Judge Torres approves the motion, and that will be wonderful news. That we should get news very soon following that, with them going back to the Court of Appeals and officially dismissing everything. Back to Fred Rispoli. I'll be hopefully optimistic that Judge Torres reads the room and is willing to just get this case off her plate. But my confidence is low. Understandably so. All we've been through in these last 4 years. That said, leaving the injunction in place is not a death knell. Ripple can still sell XRP to institutions, just not in the same way it did pre-2018. And I hope everybody understands that. It is a common misunderstanding, even with people who've been following this case, that Judge Torres put an injunction on Ripple that keeps them from selling XRP to institutions. It's more specific than that. They can't sell XRP to institutions in the specific way that violated Section 5 of the securities laws. There are ways to sell XRP to institutions that do not violate Section 5 of the securities laws. Okay, so if the injunction stands, they're still going to sell XRP to institutions. It just won't be as easy because they have to do it a different way. But as we've read in the previous court documents, they've already repackaged or reconstructed, rather, how they sold XRP to institutions. We've already read this back in previous court filings. That said, leaving the injunction in place is not a death knell, which I just read. I'm sorry, last sentence. Conservative institutions will be hesitant to get involved. More forward-thinking ones will not. So regardless of what happens, XRP is going to get the clarity it needs. We're just wondering how long is it going to take, right? If Judge Torres approves this, the end is near. Is the lights right there at the end of the tunnel? We can see the end, and this is going to be over pretty soon. If she denies it, the waters are muddied. There's no end in sight. We know they're going back to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, but we don't know how this is going to end, and we'll be waiting and seeing after that. I'm hopeful. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 7. My hope is at a 7 that this will pass. I've been disappointed before with things involving this case. But an approval here will just be the total slam dunk. Because I remember reading her past ruling, like, what? They got enjoined. I just couldn't believe it. And it only seems right that this would be reversed, going back and looking at everything now that hindsight is 2020. So I think she's going to approve it. I hope she's going to approve it. And then we also know that the Senate is getting ready to pass that Genius Act. It's all but a foregone conclusion at this point, as they have a floor vote coming up where they only need a simple majority. So we are looking forward to this summer, people. This lawsuit is going to be over very soon. We are praying. Everybody just pray with me right now. Come on. Pray with me right now. Lord Jesus. I'm serious, man. We need this lawsuit over. We need Judge Torres to approve this motion. Lord Jesus, let it happen. Let it be, Lord. Let it be. So that's my rant, people. I'm going to go probably for another 5-10 minutes or so. Going to rock with you guys in the comments for a little bit. And I appreciate everybody for being here. Slush Naturals, what's going on? Oh, that's AP. Hey, I just recognized you from the email that you put in our group chat the other day. What's going on? Glad you're in the place. Brad didn't say it would take 5 years. The person asking the question asked for his estimation over the next 5 years. Ah, okay. Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that. Colin Burt, 200 in XRP to quit my job. Please let it be soon, as I can't go on much longer. My brother, I understand. Trust me, I understand. I understand. You know, even though y'all know for a long time I was doing security. Y'all remember seeing videos when I'd be getting home late, you know, walking at night, you know, walking from my security job and all that type of stuff. And even though I'm self-employed now, you know, I've gone full time with crypto consulting in my YouTube channel. I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy yet. You know what I'm saying? I still have that burden. I still have that paycheck to paycheck. I still have that. Well, I got a budget. Sometimes things are still tight. I understand. You know, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get to the place in life where money is not an issue. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready for some new problems. I'm done with the problems that money can solve. I'm done with those problems. Man, I'm so done. Knock on wood. I'm not wishing any new problems in my life. I'm just saying. And I'm sure, you know, many of you watching me right now, you can understand that. You can resonate with that. I love Sean Walden. What's going on, my brother? I love how prepared before delivering this and previous messages for me. It helps me to follow you, and you're a blessing. I appreciate you, Sean. It is definitely a blessing to have you and people like you that are watching my channel and rocking with me. I can't do anything I'm doing without you people, so I appreciate you. Hey, healthy is a blessing too. Praise Jesus, right? I'd rather have health than wealth any day. Right? There are some things money can't do, which is, you know, if you got stage 5 cancer, hey, you got stage 5 cancer. It don't matter if you're a millionaire, right? If your heart and your lungs are bad and they stop working and your organs are not functioning properly, what can money do you to fix that, right? So yes, 100% health is a blessing. That's why I advocate for healthy things, doing healthy things, drinking healthy things, eating healthy things, you know, herbs, fruits, you know, all types of stuff. That's a whole rabbit trail. But being healthy to enjoy the wealth that is about to come is very important. Very important. Darren, appreciate you, bro. It's time for that victory, bro. It's time for that victory. And that victory is coming. Big Dreams just got here. What's the word? Big Dreams, just go back and rewatch it, my brother. We just went over an extensive, detailed explanation of the SEC Ripple filing, the new filing that just came out. We went over an extensive summary of that. The word is simple. We're hoping Judge Torres approves it. Bright, what's going on? He's saying, I can't wait. About to withdraw XRP from my rent, and it's so painful. I've had to do that before. Can't lie. I've had to do that before. I was in a tight position, and I had to sell some XRP to pay my rent. I know what that's like. And thankfully, I was able to put it back. You know what I'm saying? But I just want you to know I understand that. I understand that situation. But just understand you got to do what you got to do, and little by little, put it back. here's one thing we have in common. Everybody on here, even if things are tight for you financially, if you have a job, I'm talking about people who have a job. I'm talking about people who have a regular source of income, whether you're self-employed, have a job, whatever. If you have a regular source of income, I feel like I'm freezing. If you have a regular, uh-oh. Hold on, y'all. All right, my bad. I just noticed it was freezing a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to say this one thing. All right, sorry about that, people. There we go. All right, mic check. Can you all hear me? Slush, you can hear me? All right. I'm almost done anyway. I was trying to end it, and then my thing started tripping. But if you have a regular source of income, there's a certain amount of money that we all throw away on stuff that we could, that we don't have to buy all the time. So all you got to do is take a small amount each time you get paid and put it back. It may not be fun to buy XRP $20 at a time, $10 at a time, $30 at a time, $50 at a time, whatever. Some days, oh, I can do a little more. I can do 200 this time. Whatever that amount is, if you keep doing it over and over, it's going to add up. If you look back over your financial statements for the last 3 months, I guarantee if you have a job, there's a good chance you've spent at least about $1,500 on stuff you really didn't have to buy, right? Over the last 3 months. So if you just use an accumulation strategy of just a little bit at a time, you will accumulate XRP. And when it's all said and done, when XRP moons, what you have is what you have. And what's for you is for you. And you need to be happy and excited about what you accumulated and not comparing yourself to anybody else. All right. So that's how I see that. All right, people, I got to get out of here. Thank y'all for rocking with your boy. This is Cornelius Jones, 10-minute investing. Gonna holler at you guys on the next video. You guys be blessed and have a good one.